Hey, 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 what's good, beautiful people? Welcome to my channel. My name is Shella, or you can call me your lawyer bestie. And I'm an admitted attorney of the High Court of South Africa who is super passionate about non-traditional legal careers. Now, the reason I'm so passionate about this topic is because I went into practice thinking that it's the only thing I could do with my LLB degree, and that is far from the truth. In this episode, we have Rati. I am super amped to have her on my channel. I mean, her journey is just absolutely amazing, and I know that you're going to learn a lot from her. Unlike the other guests that I've had so far on my channel, Rati is actually admitted. However, Rati got admitted years after completing her LLB degree. So she takes us through her journey of what she did after graduating before getting admitted, and then being admitted and experiencing burnout in practice, which then led to legal technology. Her journey is super interesting and she shares some amazing gems in this episode. So if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Drop down to the comment section and leave a comment for Rati or myself and we'll get back to you. And subscribe to the channel so the family can grow. And don't forget to share this episode with somebody who you know could use this information. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Rati, thank you so much for joining me on this chat. I am super excited to have you on here. You have no idea. I've been saying that I want to get Rati in on this chat because she has a lot to say relating to alternative legal careers, especially legal technology. So, Rati, please introduce yourself to the people.
Thank you for having me. You're like my favorite law influencer. I didn't even know that was a thing until like this year, and I was like on TikTok, and I was like, "Ooh, there's other people who actually do this for fun." So yeah, no, I love this, and I like talking about alternative law careers all the time. So this is a very appropriate conversation. Like, I
Yes.
think I've been singing about the story on LinkedIn like the whole year, and people are just like, "You really love this, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I really do." Yeah. So by way of introduction, my name is Ratidzo Murwisi, but everyone calls me Rati, as Sheila said. I am Botswana's first legal technologist. It's like my favorite icebreaker because everyone is just then, what is that? And I'm like, it sounds cool, doesn't it? Yeah, no, but guys, it's a very fancy way of saying that I work with all the technologies and softwares that lawyers use to provide their day-to-day services. So I'm the one who gives you all those little cute tools and stuff to make your days easier, better, and less stressful. Coming from a recovering practicing corporate lawyer. So yeah, by training I was a corporate lawyer. In another life, I thought I was going to be Jessica Pearson, being a managing partner of a law firm, wearing the power suit and everything. Then life in a legal world lifed, and I said, okay, no.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe other options. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I hope you
Ah.
guys enjoy it and learn something. And join me on the nice side. Not the dark side, the nice side.
Yeah, on the nice side. I absolutely love that. This conversation is going to be broken down into three parts because your career journey is like absolutely amazing. I mean, there were some points where, I think all of us can learn from you. And that is like the middle part, but I'll get to that. So we're gonna break it down into three. So the first thing that I want people to know is that you did not get admitted immediately after getting your degree. How long did it take for you to get admitted?
11 years.
11 years. Okay, so we're going to talk about that period between getting your degree and then getting admitted. So we'll start there. And then you being in practice, experiencing burnout, we'll speak a little bit on that. And then you discovering legal technology will be, our third thing that we cover. So take us through. You've got your degree. You are excited. You are happy. Parents are proud. What happens then?
Okay, so just a background. I did my law degree in the UK, so it was a. And guys, I was an overachiever. I did a specialist degree in corporate and financial law. So I was like, I'm going to be a corporate baddie, like that. My parents are both accountants, so they were very upset that I didn't want to follow in their footsteps. So I had to pretend like I liked what they do, but with my twist. So I think that's how I end up with corporate law, right? And I really enjoyed it because I like numbers, but I don't love them enough to follow accounting. And I really love reading and words, and I think that was like the perfect mix between the two. So in the UK, you don't automatically have to get admitted also. So I think that might have been a factor that made me take my time.
Yeah.
And immediately after doing my LLB, I did what's called the LPC. So the LPC is like legal practice, like it's a diploma that you do preparing yourself to go into
Also, let
practice
me
and be what's called a solicitor.
wait.
Because
Sorry,
behind
let
that
me
you
just
will to become a barrister.
interject. Sorry, let me just interject, guys. The LPC, not Legal Practice Council, because in South Africa, if someone just says LPC, we are thinking
Thanks for
Legal
that
Practice
correction.
Council. Yes,
Yeah.
not
So the
that.
LPC is the legal
Clarity.
practice
Yeah.
course. Yeah, it's a legal
Yes.
practice course. So it's like a little short training that you do before you get into like your training contract, which is like your articles in essay.
Yes.
So I was like, yeah, let me do that. And I was like there. And part of the LPC is you get attached to a law firm. So like they give you an internship so that you kind of get to see what real practice is like. And I even moved cities. I moved to Manchester. That's like the corporate practice center of the UK. And I got there and I was really enjoying myself for like the first month. And I think that's probably like the honeymoon phase. Hey, it ended very quickly. Because I was like, yo, you see, I can't do this every day. Yeah, and my godfather is, well, he was the vice president at that time. He's now the president of this bank. And he's like, no, girlie, you like corporate, you like transactional advisory. Let's come do it in a bank setting because I think that might be more friendly to you since you're not enjoying the law firm setup. And I was like, thanks. And he's like, also, you get paid doing it. And I was like, say less. I get paid. All I heard was I'm getting paid. I'm not doing
Yeah.
free labor. And I got to move to Egypt. So I lived in Egypt. It was supposed to be 6 months. That was the plan. It ended
That
up
was the
being 2
plan.
years. Yeah, it ended up being 2 years. And they kind of absorbed me into the financial advisory department and I actually did like proper transactional advisory. I think this probably feeds into why I then burnt out later on, but we'll touch on that later.
Yes.
We did a lot of transactions, but they were very big transactions, which is not normal for someone my experience because usually they give us the 5-figure, 6-figure
Yes.
transactions. Now, this bank does not do anything below 5 million US dollars.
Oh.
So the smallest transaction I ever did was a 1
It was
million.
in millions.
Like,
Yeah.
So they're like, you're a newbie, let's give you the one. I'm like, hey, 1 million is it? Oh, okay. No pressure, guys. So like I did really hit the ground running, and that's when I realized I actually do enjoy transactional advisory. So, and there I was mentored by another lawyer who was in big law before and then moved into the bank. And he was like, no, you can really do this in a law firm setup. You just have to be very careful about the law firms you choose. They can have this kind of setup. And I was like, okay, maybe we can do this. Maybe I can attempt a law firm again, which is going to be useful for me because in Zimbabwe, when you want to get admitted, you have to be attached to a law firm. So then after my 2 years at African Bank, they're like, okay, we need you to get admitted because you still don't have an admission in an African country. Go do that, and when you're done, come back. And
Come back. Yeah.
promote you and all that stuff. I was like, okay, sharp, I got you.
So,
Zim,
wait.
technically, yeah.
Sorry. So before we get to the part of admission, I want to ask, like, on your own part, did you not feel any pressure to get admitted? Like, besides what everybody else been saying. Okay.
Girl, I was just like, as much as I can avoid it, I will. Because I was like, I feel like the moment you get admitted, everyone expects you to go into practice. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to go into practice. So I was really there like trying to explore what other careers I can do that does not require me to admit it.
Yes. Okay.
Only to find out like now when I was job hunting, just like putting my feelers out there. A lot of people, the moment they see LLB on your CV, they're like, okay, so where's the admission? And you're like,
Yeah.
no, it's not necessary, right? Like for everything, I'm not I'm not going to court. The only reason I would need admission is if I want to enter and be seen before a court. And so then I was just like, you know what, let me stop fighting this. Clearly, it might become a fight. Because I had like 2 or 3 interviews and they kept asking. They're like, yeah, no, we just want you to, if you're going to be our lawyer in-house, we still want you to be admitted so that if anything
Yes.
happens. And I was like, okay, clearly they need me to do it. So that's what then pushed me to go do it. So I had to move to Zim to do that. And ideally, it should have taken 2 years, 2.5 years. That's what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Ziakala for a proper.
Hey, hey.
I didn't know there was a whole conundrum coming my way. So, like, also, unbeknownst to me, there was a little mini scandal that was happening in Zim. So, all students who had done their law degrees in America, in the UK, and Australia, they were really trying to stop us from entering the market because all the local firms wanted internationally trained students. But
Okay.
that was now causing all the local students not to get any jobs because now they're just like, oh, UK degree, come here. And they didn't even ask us any questions. But also it was because of the way that UZ, the University of Zimbabwe, teaches their students. They're still doing the very old school Latin and Roman Dutch things, whereas a lot of the new law firms right now, they wanted like an internationally trained English law, common law based kind of teaching, and that's not really encouraged at UZ or in South Africa. So now that was the kind of fight that we're having. So they were just stopping us from entering the market by like prolonging the process. And people were now paying bribes, and I was just like, it's giving ethics confusion.
Yeah. Mm.
And also for me, I was just like, okay, this is Africa. We know anytime we do a corrupt thing, there's going to be an expose in 10 years, and then everybody's certificates just get cancelled.
Yes.
I was like, I want to go places. I can't be that person who's now in America, and they're saying, your certificate was issued
Your certificate.
during
Mm-hmm.
that time. So you are one of them. I was like, no, I can't have me having to do these 10 years down the line. Let's just do this the right way. So I was one of those people who said I was going to do it correctly. So because of that, I was kind of undercover punished for it. And it took 5 years. Not the 2.5. So yeah, but during that time, I also am that person who always says I want to see like the silver lining in things. Like sometimes you just dealt the cards you're dealt and you have no choice. So you have to make the most of it. So I kind of moved. So I was like, let me be intentional about the law firms that I work at so that at least I built my network in the meantime and kind of learn from the people I want to learn from, because I was like, I don't want to be your standard type of lawyer. I was like, I'm still figuring out, but I just know that the law firm thing is not for me. And I knew that like ages ago, but I was not going to push it. So now fast forward to that story I was talking about back at the beginning when I said working at the DFI was probably the best and the worst decision I made. When I joined Big Law, like that was the last law firm I was working at before I kind of did this. The partners, now the transaction, and I joined the transactional advisory team, and it was great. I was actually headhunted for that job. And they were like, oh, we love you, your CV looks great. The managing partner was like, oh, your CV looks awesome, and you came recommended by the bank. And because we want to do more work with the bank, they said if you hire someone who's worked with us before, it makes such like the relationship much easier.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I was like, no problem. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I have no problem with that. Sharp. The problem was my CV and the experience I had. If you see it on paper, which is, when Big Law, we go pitch for everything, they always put our CVs in the pitch. When you put my CV on the board, my CV looks like a junior partner CV, but I'm a candidate attorney on the paper.
Yes.
I've not been admitted yet, so I have to be called a candidate attorney. So now all the clients are just like, but it's not make sure. Because I remember this name, and the worst part is, because of course the way the M&A industry works in Africa, there's very few lawyers who are involved in it. So we kind of all know each other in the different regions that we worked in. And now because I worked at this DFI, we worked with the whole of Africa. So there's a lot of people I knew in different countries and stuff like that. So now we'd have clients come to the firm and be like, oh, I remember you. Oh, you're here now. Hi. Then like, no, we don't have to worry. You definitely got the job. Yeah, no, my partner was a man.
Yeah.
And his ego was like, this little girl is now coming here with all of this. And I was like, okay, first of all, sir, we're only like 2 years apart in age. my face just looks young. I am not that young. Let's not get it twisted. That's one. Two, unfortunately, I can't do anything about the experience I have. I just didn't know that in Africa they wanted you to do the other way around. And also, I don't want to do this law firm thing for a long time. I'm just here for the experience. And then once I get admitted, juices. So now he truly thought I was just saying this for lip service until I got the
Yeah.
job and whatever. But after like, it took about 6 months before he was like, oh, okay, oh, you're really just here for I'm like, no, I'm really here for the vibes, guys. Like, I don't think you understand just how much I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But I will pay the piper because I have to pay the piper. Don't worry. And then in the end, we ended up like building quite a proper relationship, and we kind of understood each other and stuff like that. And then fast forward, admission happens, and I'm just like, whoa, thank God, admission, I'm done.
Yeah.
But because of all that drama and everything, I was now very much like, do I really want to do this? Like, it's been a lot for something that I really didn't want to do. It's been a lot. But then I was like, no, I'll continue with Big Law. It's at least here they're kind of nurturing me, and we were talking about developing like a sports law practice. That's something I'm very passionate about. So it was working. Then COVID said hello.
COVID.
Hey, COVID showed us things in Big Law. Like, we saw things.
Yeah.
And the one major thing that was there was clients started having very unrealistic expectations of turnaround time.
Yeah.
And now, you know how when partners, because they want to make the client happy and they're doing this, I was working insane hours. And I'm an overachiever. And I was just like, make my mother
There's
happy.
also that.
Girl, I was now having like 18-hour days. And now
Oh,
also being a girl child, when you're living at home during COVID, people are still expecting you to do all the stuff that you used to do. Now I'm like, guys, I can't cook, clean, and work 18-hour days. Like, I'm human. Let's not make sure. And now it was having like very long days where now I'm probably just, if I'm not high on caffeine, I'm just high on not sleeping. And I was just like, time out. I know I said I was gonna do this, but I don't think this is what I
I can't
pictured.
breathe.
I said I wanted to be a Jessica Pearson. Guys, Jessica Pearson just looked nice and she had makeup every day. Me, I look like a zombie. What is this? And like the worst part is they're still expecting you to give more and more.
Yes.
And I was like, no, time out. I can't. Then I literally had to sit down with my parents and I'm like, okay, I'm handing in my resignation. I'm handing in my 3 months notice. I can't do this anymore because
Yeah.
this is not gonna work. And then it also didn't help that I was very far from my family. Like, my parents were in Botswana at the time and I was in Zim. And I lived by myself. So I was like, now I had to isolate because my uncle had terminal issues. So now you can't be one of those people because I was what were they called? Important person. What did they call them? We had a term during COVID. Like, you were an important person that was needed to
Essential
work every day.
worker.
That one, yes, an essential
Yeah.
worker. So because we
Essential.
were essential workers, we were still going into the office like 2-3 hours a day. And because now everyone, it didn't matter what department you were in, you had to do everything. So it didn't matter. Like, I was in the corporate practice group, but now I was having to do like court papers and stuff that I really hated as well. So now I was just like, not only are you guys forcing me to work, you're making me do work I don't like. Like, at least if I was still just doing the work I like, I could have been like, okay, we're still enjoying work, Rati. Let's I'll continue. What? No, guys. I can't do this. So I think that's then how burnout just happened. I think it was just a culmination of things. And I took a 6-month break. And I was like, I even said, I told my parents, I'm going to come home. I don't know how long this break is going to take. It might be 6 months, might be a year. But I've saved up some money. I just need to come back home and regroup. Because, guys, I will end up in a mental institute somewhere.
Yes.
If not a box, if this is... And I remember my parents like, And because I was in a different country, they just thought I was just being dramatic.
Okay.
Until I remember the day I arrived home and my mother was like, are you eating? And I'm like, ma'am, I don't have
Shucks.
time. I was like, sometimes I don't even have time to eat. I was like, that's how much I'm like stuck in front of my computer. Sometimes I don't have time to eat. I was not just thriving on like energy drinks and caffeine. And she was just like, whoa, like, dude, whoa, okay. Okay, I'm happy. Now I'm happy that you took this decision because we didn't realize it was this bad. And I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. We took a break. And then I was like, okay, that's when I was like, I have to think about what comes next because I was like, I still want to use my law degree. I don't want to go back to school and start studying again. That's too much. I've done a lot of studying for now. Let's find out what we can do with this degree. And then I was trolling LinkedIn, and then there's this wonderful lady called Sarah Ubis. She's got this very infamous iceberg. Apparently, that is her most popular post on LinkedIn ever. It
Oh,
has
wow.
about almost 1 million likes right now and counting.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how like famous that post got. But it was basically, so you hold an LLB degree. This is what you think you can do, like at the top of the iceberg, and then underneath the water is like this is what you actually can do. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm seeing like 4 careers that I've never seen in my life. What is?
Yeah.
Whoa, Linda. I thought I went to school in Europe. I had heard it all. What is
Yeah.
this?
Mm.
So that's when I was like, oh, let me explore this a bit more. And she had legal design and legal technology underneath that iceberg. And I was like, okay, let me look into this because I guess being a younger person in the office, I was the tech person. I've always had an affinity to tech.
Mm-hmm.
But, and anytime something was being implemented in the office that's tech related or software related, I was the person who usually caught on fast and then had to help everyone else. So I was like, okay, maybe let me use that side of me. It might be useful. And of course, now COVID had taught us there's now a possibility to work remotely. You don't also have to go into the office. I was like, okay, there might be an opportunity for me to do something. I don't necessarily have to move countries again. So that's fine. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole, kind of trying to research to see what's there. And of course, my biggest fear was Sarah's based in London. So I was like, okay, I'm in Africa. That's already a big very different division
Yes.
between where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And the legal industry looks very different in the UK as it does in South Africa, Southern Africa, everything. So I was like, let me see if this is available in Africa. Let's start there because, legal is very different. So that's when I started doing research and I discovered, oh, okay, there's actually legal tech in Africa. It's still growing, but there are people who are involved in it. And then that's when I discovered people like Leah Malatseli, who
Oh,
actually has a legal tech
love
startup.
her.
And I was like,
She's
okay, let me go.
amazing.
And I was like, there's a black girl even. I like it. And I was like, let me keep
She's
going.
amazing.
And then I
Yeah.
also discovered ALSPs, which are alternative legal service providers. And there's Cognia Law, there's Exigent. And then I reached out to Exigent because I then remembered when I was still at the law firm I was at, Exigent had actually developed a tool for us. So they'd worked with us to just work some. And I was like, oh, so that's legal technology. So I was like, so the thing I was
Mm.
doing for the whole last month I was at the law firm is an actual job.
Isn't
Oh,
they?
okay. And then like light bulbs started going in my head and I was like, okay, I'll actually reach out. And there was a lady called Ruth that we're working with directly for that project. But Naomi Thompson was actually another person who was working.
Oh,
She was my
yeah, I know her. Yeah.
yeah, but she actually wasn't involved in the actual product making. That was more Ruth and her team. So I was like, oh, I reached out to these ladies. I'm like, okay, ladies, I'm trying to find something else to do that's not very legal, but legal. Help. And they're like, oh no, say less. And they were very helpful. They kind of just directed me into various like options I could take. They're like, it just depends on your skill set and what you kind of enjoy doing. And then they're like, no, honestly, the sky's the limit because it's still very new. So people are kind of carving out their niches in it. So you take it and run with whatever you kind of comfortable with. And I was like, okay, say yes.
Yeah.
So, and then funny enough, during that time period, Leah was actually being honored by the American Bar Association. She
Mm-hmm.
was the first African black woman to be honored by the American Bar Association as a voice in legal tech. So she's like, oh, you must attend these awards. You'll see other women in. And I was like, say less. I was like, you said the two things I like, women in law.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, let's go, girl. So
Mm-hmm.
then they did the awards, and for me, every time I attend an event now, what I was doing was, I still do it now. I live tweet if it's like something that I think is very good and could be beneficial to other people. So I was like, oh, guys. So then they were honoring 10 women in total. So like I kind of did like a short blurb on each of the women, and I was like, these people are very cool. And of course, Leah stood out to me because it was Leah. And then that another lady called Nicola Shaver, she stood out
Mm-hmm.
because like she had the exact same background I had, but she was just like
Oh.
20 years ahead, like 10 years ahead of me. So she had worked in corporate practice and she had big law and everything, and then she had just said, I can't do this anymore, and developed her own legal tech solution. So then she was now kind of working on it and kind of scaling it up. So I was like, oh my gosh, she's like me, but in like 10 years' time. I like this. I'm fine that she's not black, but still representation matters. I'm here for it. So so then she was like, yeah. So then I did a whole like live tweet and it was great. She then reached out to me like like the next day after the award ceremony. She was like, "Hi, I don't know who you are, but like you brought a whole lot of traffic to all my profiles. Who are you?" And I was like, "Ooh, who am I? Nobody. But
Who am I?
hi." I was like, "I'm just a little black girl in Africa trying to learn about legal technology. Hey girl, how you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, that's great." She's like, "Oh, I really love talking to people who are kind of breaking into the industry, yada, yada, yada." She's like, "Oh, what are you doing right now?" I was like, "Nothing. I'm just at home trying to figure out this life thing. Burnout kicked my ass, but yeah, I think I might be finding a new thing. This legal tech thing might actually be a thing." She's like, "Oh, really? Fun fact, I'm hiring. Send me a CV." And I was like, I didn't know this is how people...
Say
Okay.
what?
I was like, as we're talking right now, I'm
Listen,
sending it.
listen here. The power of social media. The power of
Exactly.
social media. If
So,
people knew how to use social media correctly, I think that,
girl,
literally the
they
trajectory
would be
of their lives
fielding
would
jobs.
change.
They
The
would.
trajectory of their lives would change because the very same people who open the doors are on social media. And honestly, nobody wants to be going through heaps and heaps and heaps of CVs to find one person. So if you
True.
stand out on social media, you'll get in because that's exactly what happened to me. I was like headhunted and
Exactly.
seen on social media. So social media is a thing.
Because you were
Hmm.
doing the job without knowing you're doing the job. So
Exactly.
essentially, then she
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, no, you seem." She's like, "You're very good at." She's like, "Dude," she's like, "I saw your tweets and they were like very engaging." I was like, "Oh, thanks. I'm very new to the social media thing, but I think I like it." I'm like, "Yeah,"
Uh-huh.
and she's like, "Okay, send me a CV. I'll send it to my partner, and then we can have a chat." And I was like, "Okay," I sent it. And then she got COVID. And now the funniest thing is, I didn't know she got COVID. Of course, I wouldn't know. She's in New York.
Yeah.
I'm here. She got COVID. So like she disappeared for like 3 weeks. And now I was just like, oh my gosh, I sent her my CV and now she's
I
back
guess
again.
it's a no. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was. And then like 3 weeks later, she just randomly, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I had COVID. So I kind of dropped off the face of the earth. We need to set up an interview this week. Like the partner's here." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Oh, we're still going. Okay, let's do this." And then literally, we got on a Zoom call with her and the other partner.
The
The other
partner.
partner is actually the co-founder of Practical Law. And I was like,
Oh.
"Oh, I'm with the big dogs now." I was like, "Oh, girl,
Hmm.
am I?" And I remember like I froze for like 2 seconds, and she's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Sorry, my internet glitched." "Yeah, no, I'm here." I
I'm
was like,
fine.
I'm not gonna act like I froze myself. No, I'm just gonna be like, "Yeah, my internet glitched. You know, Africa. Yeah, it happens." And she's like, "Oh, okay, no, that's fine." She's like, "So, yeah, no, we've seen your CV." Like, yeah. She's like, "No, JP just wanted to see your face and see if you're real." She's like, "I know it sounds weird, but yeah."
Yeah.
But she's like, "Yeah, no, that's it. We just want you to do like this one little task. If that works out, you've got the job." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "What task is this? I don't." You guys seem very tech involved, and lo and behold, it was just like a research task that they wanted me to see if I can kind of trail my way through how I would actually be doing research on a day-to-day basis. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you did this." She's like, "You did this so fast, but like you went into depth that we didn't realize you could." I was
Oh,
like, "Yeah."
nice. Yeah.
I work for Big Law. You remember like when we did those opinions? They were like 7 pages.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to fuffle. I was like, I was also fuffling about 3 paragraphs, but thanks. I impressed you. I was like, I impressed you. That's all that matters. And she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, no, say less." And yeah, that's how I got that job, which then opened me, and that's how I ended up in legal technology. But that was
Wow.
like the start of like a very great adventure, because now like my job started off as like data entry. That was the title. Like I remember she even said, "I'm going to give you a fancy title, but you're going to be doing data entry." And I was like, "Okay, say less." So I'm just going to be typing information into a spreadsheet. Girl, I could do that in my sleep.
Okay.
I just know like the legal research part is why you wanted someone who has a legal background. And she's like, "Yeah, she lied. That was not what I was doing." But I was happy for it, because then I developed quite well, because then it turned into, so the company I was working for is a legal, what they call a legal directory. Also, now I was learning new terminology every other
Yeah,
day.
like
And
I'm also like, what is
basically,
that?
yeah, so legal directories is actually like an industry that happens. So, like chambers and IFLR, like they kind of grade law firm sizes and like how big you are, like what level you are, like your lawyers, are they grade 1, grade 2, grade 3? Apparently, it actually decides how much you charge in the UK and the States. That decides how much your fees are
Okay.
going to be, like your hourly fees. Here, it gives you the same kind of vibe, but in Africa, they don't take it as seriously as the US and the UK does. So they're like, so directories are very important. But the Legal Tech Hub, they're the kind of directory that catalogs and like just gives you the yellow pages of any and every legal tech solution that's available globally. So basically, we just talk to everybody who's in the legal tech space and be like, what are you doing today? Like, who do you serve? And that kind of stuff. So I got to meet a lot of different legal tech vendors and learned a whole lot about legal technology very fast. And then also, because I managed the website, because then she discovered I'm very good with tech. And she's like, oh, you're very good with tech. Okay, work with the developers and then you guys can kind of do that. And then I learned how to manage a tech platform from like the back end stuff. So there's very no code stuff, but then I developed coding skills because I had to code with the developers. So it was very like on the job learning, but it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Trying to get to. But you also meet like-minded people, because I was like, I didn't know people like this existed, and I was discovering new careers along the way. Like, I didn't know that a law librarian in America is actual job.
Oh,
Like, they
wow.
get paid a whole lot, like, to manage a library. So, like, one of the ladies on our team, she's a law librarian. My girl was getting paid 200K a year, and I was like, eh? So
Wow.
me who loves books, I could have been paid 200,000 a year to sit in a library. Like I
To
was like,
sit in
they
the
used to kick me
library.
out of the library. I could do that as a job for law.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, no, you get trained to do it, and then you manage. So basically, you're now going to law firms and manage their libraries and make sure that they have the correct journals and up to date. And I was like, wow, guys. Hey, no, guys. There's I didn't know. There's careers we're just discovering. And of course, in America and the UK, they allow lawyers and law firms to advertise. So legal marketing is also something that's very big.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not under, it's under legal tech, but not under legal tech because a lot of it is digital marketing because of the way the
Yeah.
world is now. So they kind of put it under legal technology, but it's still, it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, that's where I got to becoming Botswana's first legal
legal
technologist.
technologist. So you spoke a lot about your journey, and the point that I want you to just stretch is legal technology. Give me like a day in the life of a legal technologist. Now this is like legal technology for dummies. You're talking to somebody who has
Ah.
no idea what that is, right? And then tell me, how can people get in? How can people get in? Do you need to get admitted? Do you need to go to corporate first? Can I just come through with my LLB degree after graduation and be like, I want to be in legal technology? Like, how do we go about this? What is this thing?
So you see, that was like my favorite thing. So the major thing that's about legal technology, it depends like which avenue you're gonna take because it has a lot of little. It's like a spider web essentially, but like everything comes back to here, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who are in legal tech who are either very very techie. So they're the people who do like the coding and developing like software products. So product development. So if you're going to legal technology, you can either be on the product side, which is the vendor side. So you're developing legal tech solutions. So it means you're going to be involved in the building of the tech. So that means your
So
coders,
you
your
are
engineers. So it means you're probably going to have to get like you do have to do like a coding course. It doesn't necessarily have to be a whole degree. Like you can do like a coding course or like a prompt engineering course, just depending on which side you kind of want to start off with. Because like I said, a lot of it is on the job learning because a lot of it is very specific to the company you're working
the
with.
company,
So
yes.
that it's the great and bad thing about legal technology. The base that you need is just having a legal background for most of them. But there's some who are literally like, if I want a software engineer, you don't have to be a lawyer for that. No, I want a software engineer. So there's a lot of people who've done IT, just purely IT, software engineering, coding, who come into legal tech because we need them to build. Because lawyers,
Yeah.
hey, we like words. It's this numbers thing and coding.
Yeah, yo, hey.
Right. But the sad thing is when you're developing a legal tech solution, you still need a legal mind because depending on what part of legal technology you're in, I'll give you an example. There's document automation, which is something I do a lot. So essentially that's just automating anything from like using Microsoft Word to draft a contract. So you can literally just have the chatbot version, which is basically ask a chatbot, please, I want this, and they ask you, okay, tell me the details, and then spit something out for you. Or you can have the Microsoft Word version where you basically use clauses and like put them together, which is like the Lego building. So there's different types. So each of
Okay,
those
yeah.
use a different kind of tech and platform. So that's what I mean. And then there's a legal tech solution side where I am, which is you don't need any of these extra things unless you're trying to be fancy. Like I did, but like I only started like getting extra certifications like 2 years in, but that's because I wanted to pivot into another part of legal tech, which is like legal engineering, which is like doc automation, prompt engineering, and stuff like that. But literally, I did a 3-day course on Udemy for prompt engineering. Because like prompt engineering is something that's still very new, but it's very unique to a person. Because like just like ChatGPT, it's an LLM, which is called a language model. So it
Yeah.
basically adapts to you individually. So you just have to learn how to basically talk to a machine, and that only happens with time and experience. So you can teach it, but you can't teach it, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
because you just get
true.
better with time.
True.
So there's things like that. And then there is things like customer success and like product development. So you can get training for product development. That means you're kind of getting into the more technical side, which is still like your SQL, Python, and stuff like that. But all of those product guys always need a legal mind because it's still something you have to tell
Yes.
to lawyers. So
Now
it
I
still has to
see
make sense
where,
to a
yeah.
lawyer. So they're always going to need a you. So that doesn't
Yeah.
require you to have any extra learning but what you did at school. So yeah, that's that stuff. So I always tell people, legal tech is that little. It's like a lake that leads into the sea because there's so much you can
There's
do,
so
and it just depends
much.
on where you want to go. You can end up in France. You can end up in China. It just depends on which route you took, but you'll have fun nonetheless. I honestly think, but I also always want to stress it's not a, what do they call it, a consolation prize for not
Oh,
getting admitted. It does take a lot of work. It sounds like fun and games, but it's actually because I enjoy it, but it's still a
yeah.
lot of work. So
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people who think, oh, so I can't do this, so I should do this. uh, yes and no, you are going to have to work,
Yeah.
but yeah, just don't think about it as a consolation. It still takes a lot of energy out of you, so you have to kind of put your back into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it is it's nothing like traditional law. We have community. Like legal tech, the other thing I really love about it is
Shots
we talk
fired.
to each other. I don't know. It's not an old boys club. Like for me, also because I wanted to go into corporate finance, I discovered very quickly it was an old boys club, which was very frustrating for me because I'm very much a community person and I like helping others. I am not a cutthroat person.
Yeah.
It is not within me. So I was like, this is very weird. I'm here to learn, but someone is telling you, okay, I'll teach you here, and then they cut you here. And you're like, hey,
Mm.
wait, I thought we were together. What are we doing?
What's going on?
So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But the legal tech community is it's global, but it's not global at the same time because I have people in my network that I've never met before, but they can literally drop me a call right now, be like, are you okay? Do you need help? Like I saw this post here, like, is everything okay? And I'm like, you've never met me, but thanks. Oh, that's nice. And they'll still give you information and stuff like that. I'm like, which is very different from like traditional law. Hey, if that application goes up, that Weber Wenzel application goes up, hey, everybody and their mother is on it.
Mm.
And they won't even send it to you. But in the legal tech community, you'll literally see like 700 people can post the same thing. Even though everyone's applying, but they'll still be like, okay, there's a job post. Do you know anyone? Like, that's like how a lot of people get hired in the legal tech industry.
Oh,
Like, it's a lot of,
wow.
I know someone who knows someone. And it's also because it's a developing industry. So everyone's like,
Yes.
I just want to know you can do the job. So the bare minimum is you having a legal degree for a lot of these people because having a legal degree indicates certain skills, like certain
Yes.
skills. If you've survived law, you've got certain skill set that you have that's
Hey.
just natural to you, that you can take. So they
Yeah.
know, okay, this one survived law. Okay, so maybe you won't die if you're in a library for the whole day. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else who's just like, I read a book for an hour and I'm like, I'm done.
I'm done.
It'll
I'm
be stressful.
sleeping. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So it's
with,
things like that.
yeah. So, you speak a lot about community and how everyone in the legal technology community is just for each other and, it just seems so wholesome. let's talk about getting or infiltrating that space. Would you say that maybe the best way to get into legal technology for a graduate, somebody who just has their LLB degree, is to be in the community, like connect with people on LinkedIn, message, and would you say that's like the best way to get in? Because if I'm being honest, I've never seen a post saying we want legal technologists. Or maybe because I'm not in the community, then I don't see it. But
I think it's a bit of that, but yeah, no, it requires a lot of networking because, like I said, a lot of the jobs nowadays actually advertising way more. Like they do advertise quite a bit more and stuff. A lot of them are also going to be remote based because, like I said, the legal tech industry on the African continent is still growing. So there's
yeah,
still neither here nor there. Weber Wenzel and Herbert Smith Freehills are the only South African firms that actually have like full-fledged departments that do like legal tech and legal innovation. So because of that, you've got a very limited number of jobs that they can advertise. But I think they just did a hiring spur probably like about 2-3 months ago because Alia was growing her team. So there is that. But yes, your best bet is to network. But I feel like that's with everything legal
true.
right now. You have to
You
kind of
have
network
to.
your way into a lot of things because yeah, too many people are in the industry one, but guys, everyone is overachieving also, so like you have to stand out some way somehow, and I feel like networking is probably your best way to stand out. Find your niche. Not everyone is like chatty and like boisterous like I am, so I truly understand, but I always say you have your superpower. Like find out what your superpower is it connecting with people, or is it finding like little important little tidbits about people? Because like it can be anything. Like example, like we just had the one of the biggest legal tech conferences. It's called Legal Geek. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's that insane where people are like, I'm ready to geek out, and people give like the weirdest corporate gifts. Like everyone has the standard mugs and whatever.
Yeah,
At
yeah, yeah.
legal tech conferences, people give you like headphones, or you can have like a sweater that says I'm a legal geek freak. Like
Oh,
you have things like, and then you have people doing like videos, like and reels and all that stuff. This year, the headline speaker at Legal Geek was Mel B, the Spice
hmm.
Girl.
Yeah, Spice Girl Mel
So,
B.
yeah, so like it's things like that. And the American one, they had, I think it was called Eltacon. They had all of these country singers. They had one of the most famous country singers from Nashville be the headliner as entertainment. Like it's very much like it's an adult party essentially. Like we are there,
Yeah,
and they'll have like the randomest. So like it's literally grown up kids essentially. I don't know if that makes sense. Like we're professionals
that's
and everything,
it.
but it's like our time to like geek out and have fun with the
Mm-hmm.
thing. So I was like, when you network and talk to people, it'll be much easier to like kind of get into the job space and everything because
Yeah,
it's that kind of space. So it's
yeah,
very
and
different. That's why I said it's very different from like your traditional wear a suit. Yeah, I know there you're not wearing a suit there. People are wearing
probably wearing
like
pajamas at home.
I know like there's this one of our famous influencers in legal tech. Her name is Layla. She has crowns, so like she walks
Layla with
around
the
with her
crowns. Yeah, I
crown
know
and
her.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
she wears her crowns, and then there's the guys who have like a walking podcast. Like he's literally walking around with his mic and everything, and he's like, "Hi, what's your name?" And I can't remember his name. He's American, and he's become
I don't.
famous
Yeah,
in the
I don't
legal
know
tech
him.
industry
Yeah.
because of that. But he's like in his 50s. Like the man's old, but like the man makes the funniest videos ever with legal content. And
Yeah.
he's become famous about, and that's how he teaches people about legal technology and legal innovation and what's trending right now. So it's a very social community. So I genuinely say if you want to get into the community, you just have to talk. And I guarantee you'll find your people somewhere in there. They're like
Yeah.
Harry Potter
Yeah.
fans, they're like music fans and like Lego fans. And the greatest thing about the people in the legal tech space is they find ways to make that and like twist it into legal tech. So they like tell you, oh, so I was building a legal tech solution and it's about like contract management. Think about it like how you build Legos with your son. You build it and you put this, and they literally tell you, and I'm like, I've never thought about that. Like what?
Like that. Yeah.
But you remember it just because they used a very casual analogy and stuff like that. So yeah, you just have to find what it is that you enjoy that's nothing legal, and I swear if you search for it on LinkedIn, you'll find someone who's talking about legal tech or legal innovation.
Yeah.
It's a weird
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and I love the fact that, it's the community. Like the community helps you. You've got people who be like, yo, are you okay? We saw you posting about this. Can we help you? Are you coping? And I think that's something that lacks in practice. Like in practice, people are suffering from burnout, depression, they're antisocial, there's literally nowhere for them to go. And when they do go to events, it's so cliquey. That's something that I was actually talking about today with one of my colleagues, that the spaces are very clicky. You get to, a new space and everybody's just in their little group and it's so hard to infiltrate. So it's just so amazing to know that there is some part in the field where everyone is just, everyone is for
Yeah.
everyone.
I will give you an example. So there's a network called SALT, which is the South African Legal Tech Network.
Yes. It's
I
with
went to my
Jared.
very first SALT event. Yeah, exactly. I'd never met Jared, and I attended a SALT event, and we left there. Now we were best friends.
Oh,
But like
nice.
literally, we walked. I walked into that room, and I was one of the two people from Botswana who attended that event. But like everyone in the room, like when you go to an event and everyone's like talking to each other because everyone is they're not newbies, but everyone's like, oh, how did you learn about this? How did you learn about this? Oh, I discovered it this way. Oh my gosh, really? I went to that school. Oh, I also like that. And it's literally one of those rooms. And when you find a room where you can hear someone having a conversation somewhere like around you, and someone like, oh my gosh, you guys are talking about this as well. We discovered this, and it becomes like a whole big conversation from like three people here to like 9, 12 of you all in one circle and just kind of
Ah,
bouncing ideas off each other. So it's a very interactive space. So I always tell people, and that's the funniest thing because then you've got a lot of people like I know Layla posts about it as well, Leah posts about it as well. Like then you've got a lot of introverts in the space because they're like, okay, I'm an introvert and I have a social battery, so like I have to really think about how do I network when I go to these kind of events. So like I know Layla went to Legal Geek and she's like, she literally put a post up. She's like, legal geek for introverts. So this is how you're going to attack it. Bring this, and you're going to have this. Put things like that. I'm like, it's that space where people are very comfortable to be like, okay, you're not a person who likes talking to people. So this is how we're going to do it. There's going to be a meeting area for all those people who don't really know how to kind of put themselves out there, but they really want to be at the event. And there'll be like a booth where everyone like you is. And like imagine, I was like, do you know how comforting that is to go to an event and
mm.
someone says, I understand you don't know how to like introduce yourself to people. They're going to be like 10 of you all in one space. It's easier to kind of digest when it's like an event that has like 1,000 people, but like there's this one corner where all of you can
Oh,
come in and be like,
so
oh, you also like
wholesome.
me, like exactly. So you see, it has people like that in this space, and like it happens at like a lot of the major events that they're like, okay, we can have a meetup spot where everyone who's like never been to the city, and because they literally take them everywhere in the world. Like I know, Eltacon this year was in Las Vegas, I think, yeah. And they're like, we know the space, like the city alone can be overwhelming for people. So like, we're going to have meetup spaces for the people who are coming out from like Africa, from this. And they kind of put you in space where at least it makes it a bit more digestible for the people who are not really like out there and stuff like that. So I'm like, I was like, these are the kind of spaces I like. And I was like,
Yeah.
yo, when I was still like in training and practice, everyone is like, oh, you don't know anybody here. Oh, what's wrong with you? Why do you feel
Yeah.
lonely? Like it's
Every
normal.
man
I
for
don't know
himself.
everybody.
Mm.
I'm not Moses. I don't know everybody and their mother. So, so it's things like that. So like I always tell people like, it's very nice to find a space that is open to like all different types of personalities because I feel like it's the
Mm.
first space
Yeah.
that's very professional
Accommodating.
but still
Yeah.
accommodates all the different kind of things and stuff. And it's also the only space that I've seen that is very open about things like neurodivergent, being autistic, having issues with mental health as a professional. And it's like people at different stages of their career. So you have the people who have just started out, you have the people who are like thriving. And then, so like imagine if you have like one of the top partners at Weber coming out and saying, oh my gosh, I had a mental breakdown this week, I can't believe. But then so and so helped me. And I'm like, hey, when are you ever going to hear a partner say they were dying?
Mm.
But like
Yeah.
now in the legal tech space, like every other week, there's one of the leaders coming out and say, guys, your mental health is important. Like talk to somebody about it. These are the spaces. Or if you're a new person coming into the field, some of these are the pitfalls to watch out for because it can get kind of crazy. So be careful. And these are the kind of spaces you can go to get help with that. And I'm like, you see, like, I want spaces like this. But I was like, just
Yes,
because I'm not in
yes,
traditional
yes.
practice, I want them to kind of learn this as well because I feel like too many people, they want to be in the practice space and they deserve to be in that space. Like they'll thrive in that space. But they have to have certain accommodations for them to thrive. And I feel
True.
like right now they're just not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's making a
Mm-hmm.
lot more people leave the profession, not because
Yes.
they won't thrive,
Facts.
but it's just because no one's holding space for them. Because
Facts.
also life looks very different right now than it did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So
100%.
what's normal, what we're dealing with right now, guys, social media is a monster of its own, and that can
Yeah.
kill you if
Like
you're not careful.
we're dealing with a lot. We are dealing with a lot.
Yeah, and the parental expectations are much louder these days compared to back
Hey.
then in terms of achievements and all of that. And again, because social media is there, people can see these things, and you're just like, you can't. Some of these things you can't hide that you don't have them, or that it's
Yeah.
taking you 5 years when it should have taken you 2 or something.
You know?
So
Yeah.
there's not enough people
Yeah.
just speaking about these things. So I was like, yeah,
That's true. That is true. I really appreciate the fact that, in legal technology, that community, that, lacks so much in practice is there. I think also with people who've been in practice and then they're not in practice anymore, a large majority of them actually left because mental health issues were popping up every day. Like, you would just not be like, you were not able to handle the pressure and, you were just falling apart. And that's like the story for a whole lot of people who have lived practice. So I think that, we as like the seemingly younger generation, let's go into these spaces with a different attitude. With the attitude to say, we know that mental health issues exist, they affect us, and we need to be kinder to one another and we need to be aware of these things. When somebody's slacking, it's not that, they don't want to work or they're
they want to
lazy.
slack.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
yeah, we're
exactly.
slacking because like we're just burdened. It's like trying to climb a mountain with a
Siyakhala
whole
somewhere.
burden. you know so yeah, I think that's something that each and every single person who's watching, I'd want you to take, even if you're not interested in legal technology, you just wanted to hear Ratizo's story. Make sure that you take this one with you. Be kinder to people,
Yeah.
understand that all of us are dealing with different challenges, we are different people, and so yeah, thank you so much, Ratizo. That was probably like you touched on everything before I even asked you. You literally touched on the points
Thanks.
and so much more. And so much more. And I think from this conversation, I'm also going to take, the whole mental health thing, firstly for myself, take care of my own mental health and just be kinder to others, to accommodate them and, ask, do you need help? What can I do to alleviate your burdens and your stress? You know? So yeah, Ratizo,
And I
thank you
also want
so
to
much.
say,
Yeah,
I
your
also want to just add
closing
on that,
words.
yeah, guys, even if you're in practice, right? Because also I think that's one of the major reasons I kind of ended up in legal tech as well. Legal technology is there to assist lawyers to offer their services better and stuff. Because like one thing that I was really frustrated about, like I think probably in my first 6 months of legal tech, like after the honeymoon phase kind of died out, is the one thing that I really noticed is that law firms this side of the world specifically don't know about legal tech, but it can really help us. Like a lot of the tools I discovered could have helped me not suffer burnout at all because they just make my day-to-day work
Easy.
life much easier and work faster. Because also we find like all the people who are using these tech solutions, they offer their services and they work faster and they work so much better and their quality of life is significantly better because now you're not sitting there reviewing a contract that's like 700 pages. That's going to take you at least a week. But your partner's there like do it in 2 days. You're like, hey,
Yes.
when am I sleeping? And like it doesn't make sense. Whereas your counterpart in London is given the same task and it'll take them literally 5 hours because a computer went through it and said, okay, all of these are boilerplates. These are the important clauses. We can go back to review that, but this is the important stuff. So it kind of allows you to work smart and not hard.
Work
I think
smarter, not
that's a
harder.
real, yeah, that's like my tagline. I'm like, guys, I want to work smart and not hard because,
Mm-hmm.
hey, guys, just because you're working hard, it doesn't mean things are
Doesn't
easy,
mean you're producing
right?
facts.
Exactly. So, like, we want to be as productive as possible, and the only way you can do that is if you're working smart. So, you need to put your best foot forward, and you have to have the best tools to do your job, whatever that may be. And
Facts.
that is the purpose of legal technology. It's just there to make your day to day easier and just more manageable
Mm.
so that you're not drowning consistently. Because that's the one thing that I experienced as a candidate attorney and as an associate in practice, and a lot more people are experiencing it now because there's just unrealistic targets that come up because you're competing with your global counterparts, but your global counterparts have these tools that they at their fingertips, but you are here saying, I'm still reading a paper here
Page
for fun, but your
503.
age
Hey.
and your counterpart is already like, I'm already on page 1,000 because AI
Mm.
did this with me and we're fine, and you're like, what? So you see, so like I always tell people that yes, legal technology is great for a lot of things. It's not just, I'm not saying come to my side just because I'm saying come to my side. That would be great. It's easier this side, no doubt. But you can still stay on the other side of the fence and still enjoy your day to day life. Because I was like, for me, I just don't. I'm tired of hearing the stories of people burning out, and it's burning out just because you've not been equipped with the tools and the help that you need to do your day to day job, and that can be a multiple of things. So yes, guys, you don't have to
Yeah.
come to legal technology, but I'd love it if you did because there's more people.
She's literally
Yeah,
saying, come to legal technology.
you will have fun. That's for sure.
No, that one seems guaranteed because I look at Leah's post, Naomi, and I'm like, y'all, are y'all working? What are you guys doing?
Yeah. And we're very much event
Y'all be
people here.
having
So like there's
events.
always an event. Yeah.
There's always something. There's always something. And you know what? Because the legal technology space is so like inclusive and stuff, I might just start going to events because you guys get nice freebies, nice food, and amazing community. So
But you're closer to the legal tech space than you think. You're doing legal education. That's like very close. Because there's what's called legal education tech. That's kind of a thing. So you're closer than you think.
you know what?
Working on a platform.
Actually, let me hit Jared up like somebody. What do we do
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, exactly. No, no, but I really enjoyed this
uh
conversation. Hopefully it helps somebody.
No, it definitely is going to help somebody. Thank you so much for your time, Rati. I had an amazing time during this interview, great laughs. I even said on LinkedIn, I was like, this one, she has a great sense of humor. I absolutely love that about her.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Everyone who's watching this appreciates you as well. Yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Drop down to the comment section and leave a comment or a question for me and Rati. We will get back to you. And subscribe to the channel so the family can grow. And don't forget to share this with somebody who you know could use this information. So until my next video, I'm sending you tons of love and light. Bye.